Check. 1, 2, 3.
The Debrief. This is the Debrief.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the Debrief.
Hello and welcome to the Debrief. I'm your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
And I'm Jag.
And it's another Thursday, which means we're doing an in-depth interview. This time, you guys know one of my favorite subjects. I love the stand-up comedy scene here in Detroit. And we've got something exciting that's coming up. This is the second year that it's happening. It is the Motor City Comedy Festival, launched last year. It's coming back September 20th through the 23rd. You can see comedians, some of them national, some of them local, at a number of different clubs, including the Sanctuary, L Club, Ghostlight, and Ant Hall. All the details are over at MotorCityComedyFest.com. And we've got two of the board members, two of the women who helped put this all together here in studio with us. Welcome to Lauren Uchalik and Esther Nevarez. Hey.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
We're excited that you're here. Seriously, I really am, because I know that there is a lot of cool stuff going on in local stand-up comedy. I'm not sure that everybody realizes how much talent we've got here in the city and all the exciting things that are going on. So,
for sure.
I mean, we guys start by talking a little bit about the state of stand-up comedy here in Detroit.
Absolutely. There has been such a cool growth here. I mean, I graduated from college in 2010 and stayed in the Detroit area. And from when I started in 2010, I mean, every year the growth has been exponential. And it's been great to see people that are so excited and that want to go out and they want to do these open mics. And so we wanted to do the festival to have these great national headliners and have local comedians opening for them, and then also have a talent pool of submission called talent for our showcase shows, which is great. I mean, we have submissions we have some folks from Detroit, we have people from across the country, from Canada, and they're just really excited to come here because there's that mystique around Detroit. And they want to come and they want to see the city, but we also have gotten a really great reputation for being a really welcoming, fun city to perform in. So people are excited to be here.
Lauren, you talk about national and pairing national comedians with local comedians. You see that the local comedians who are up and coming learn stuff from the national comedians, or that some of the national folks, I don't want to say like take you under their wing or anything like that, but there's probably a lot to be learned in that situation, right?
There is, and I think that a lot of the comedians who are performing, I mean, there's a level of experience that you gain just from every show you do, and we are trying to showcase the people that are at that level where they're really shining with these talents that are so strong and that are really drawing a lot of people to come see these shows. And we want the people who come to the shows to say, oh, wow, I was coming to see this person I saw on TV, but now I see that there are these other great comedians here. Maybe I'll come to these other shows that are being produced in the city. And we want to really help that audience to broaden their horizons and hopefully keep coming back, because there's tons of great comedian-produced comedy shows throughout the city of Detroit, the metro area, even through to Lansing. There's great shows that I feel like are within driving distance for a good night out.
I liken it a little bit to the music scene. I know I've discovered a lot of new bands that I've grown to love because they opened for somebody else that I went to go see a concert. So I'd assume it's kind of a similar thing like that. Somebody you wouldn't know their name or maybe give them a try. Once you do, like, oh, okay. And then I would drive to Lansing to see them or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, Esther's had a lot of experience performing with bigger name comedians, and I feel like it's always a cool learning experience for the comedian at the show. And I think that the comedians that come into town are just sort of ready for anything. Like they could be paired with someone who is just not ready to be there.
Sure.
But we try to make sure that we're pairing up similar styles and people who are going to work well together, and that it's not going to feel like it's a completely disjointed show where it's weird person to person.
Esther, you just got paired with Michael Shea for a show recently, right?
Yes.
How did that come together? How'd you wind up there? Because you saw that show,
I did.
didn't you?
I was there in the audience. I was like, oh, hey, that's great.
Well, they usually, I guess, I know they've asked Mark Ridley for suggestions.
Yeah.
And so
who runs the Comedy Castle over in Royal Oak?
Yes.
Right. Our local comedy expert.
Suggestions.
Oh, that's good.
So that was great. And it went really well.
You killed it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were so welcoming and supportive. His opener and his people They were so nice and just. He was super humble, and it was so funny. I knew people who didn't know who he was, and I just couldn't.
Really?
I thought it was so weird because I was so excited, and I told
yeah.
people, like, I'm opening for Michael Shea, and they're like, I don't watch TV.
And you're like,
It's a little show called Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you've heard of it, but then there were times when I'm like, he's hosting the Emmys. And we're like, wow.
Oh, him?
I have a confession. I didn't see the show that night. I was over at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle seeing this other guy who was headlining there.
Oh, yeah.
I think you might know.
Yes.
Because you're actually, we've talked about your love life on this show before.
Numerous times, actually.
goodness.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
With both parties, actually.
When neither of them are here, you guys talk about it still, too.
Oh, we do.
It has
It's a
nothing
little
to do
strange
with
and
it.
awkward, but yeah.
Mostly Seth.
It was great, though, that night because Jeff Horst is my boyfriend. He was headlining at the Comedy Castle, and that was the only night I could go see him in this run of headlining, and so I didn't go see him, but because I was at Royal Oak Music
I think
Theater.
he understood.
But
I'll tell you the jokes later. They were very funny.
He finished and ran from Mark Ridley's on foot, ran to the backstage of Royal Oak Music Theater, and they let him in because I didn't know I could take anybody because I'm the opener, and they made fun of me. The DJ made fun of me and said, "Where are your people? Why are you alone?" I can have people?
Right.
I didn't know I could have people. I had a lot of people ask me if they could get in, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm not asking.
Do you have a rider? Do you have a set of things that you ask for when you perform?
I mean, they didn't really ask specifically for a rider. I have been asked for a rider before, and usually I just like
We'll help you
humbly
write
say
one.
beer,
Socks.
water,
Socks are key.
and
You
then
need socks.
that's all. But it is really weird when Jeff has been asked for a rider before, and he said vegetables, I guess, and they said, yeah, that's already
Everybody,
there.
yeah.
He told us that.
He told us
actually.
that. Yeah, there's a veggie tray, and we provide water. And then he asked for tea, and they gave him like a bazillion kinds of tea.
Yeah, they put the beer in Michael Shea's dressing room, and then he was in there before the show. And so after I went on, I wanted a drink, and then I went down there, and I'm like, oh God, he's in his dressing room. I can't drink until he leaves this room because I was scared to bother him. And then he was so botherable. He was so we all just hung out in his room.
That's
He
great to
didn't care.
hear because he definitely seemed like that, but you
Yeah.
never know. But that's really cool to hear.
He hung out. I mean, people were coming up that we didn't even know were going to be where we were hanging out afterwards, friends of ours, and he's just meeting people, meeting local comics, and just hanging. and
I mean,
happy.
imagine this is what you do when you're a comedian. I mean, you're just going from town to town, and you want to hang out and see people after your show.
Yeah,
Some
what else you
people
have to
just
do?
Be
wanna
lonely
go
on the
home.
road. You want to
really?
make
You
friends?
just crash in your hotel
Oh,
room?
yeah.
So let's talk about some of the people who are headlining this year's Motor City Comedy Festival. Let's start with Tony Hitchcliffe.
Yes. Tony Hinchcliffe is most widely known for his podcast, Kill Tony. But his podcast is already fully sold out. He's doing a live podcast recording, and he also has rap celebrity Danny Brown is going to be on the show.
Oh, I love Danny.
So, yeah, it's going to be really cool. So the podcast is already fully sold out other than a couple of weekend passes that are still available.
That's
At the time of the recording,
We
but-
need to learn how to do a live show. We should have gone and take notes.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes.
And then he has a stand-up show that has a limited number still available, and those are both on Saturday night. He's doing those in a row, first stand-up, then the podcast. And we're really excited that he was willing to do a live podcast here. I mean, I think that that's super cool that he's interested in doing this as a location for it. I mean, we were excited enough to get him, but that he was going to do both his stand-up and the podcast when he has such a popular podcast.
I saw Kill Tony in February in LA at the Comedy Store, and he was talking about going to Detroit then.
Oh,
He
wow.
was talking
Do we
about
wanna
it
know what he
like-
said,
No, he
or-
was happy about it. He was like joking about how he was going to get one of the guys that I guess is on his podcast a lot, get like him funded, and people were gonna pay for him to fly here too. I have no idea if that happened, but he was
Maybe
just
we're
like
paying for it. He just didn't tell us.
plugging Detroit and just saying how, I'm going to be in Detroit. Oh, who is this guy's going to come with me? He was all excited. I was super happy that he was excited about it.
Do you feel like, because there has been this sort of storyline about the resurgence of Detroit in the national media. Has that helped you in putting this?
I think so. I mean, I had been interested in putting together this kind of a festival for a while, and And it took some time for me to sort of get the full business plan and stuff together and to get people involved that wanted to help me do the work. And there were a lot of things that I had been wanting to bring to it that I'm excited that this year I'm really seeing a lot more of that come together, like being able to offer workshops in the entertainment industry, because that's something I went to college for, theater and performing arts management. So I have a lot of entertainment business knowledge. And I think that it's such an important thing because a lot of comedians maybe don't come into comedy for it as a career, but they don't realize how many other cool options there are in entertainment that they can sort of move into from their experience in doing comedy.
Where did you go to school?
I went to U of M.
Okay.
Nice. You're doing the podcast here, and this is funny because I had a conversation with Mark Ridley about this a few months ago because I'm fascinated by the fact that podcasters are now starting to tour and are starting to, and it's not like it is with comedy or where it is with music, where there's a mature sort of circuit and route that people do. These podcasters just kind of go, okay, where can I do a podcast and book it wherever? I would love to see a touring circuit emerge. Do you think that you'll have more and more back in future years of the festival?
I think it's possible. I think that we need to get a much more clear sort of standard and way to really clearly define like what we expect from the podcasters, because everybody who is on the festival as a headliner has tons of podcast experiences if they don't run their own podcast already.
Right.
So it's not something that we think of as being the defining factor. They all do comedy first and foremost, and doing a podcast is just a part of their entertainment career.
Right. Every comedian has a podcast these days, right?
They really do. And that would even be a good, I've thought about that as a really good workshop of talking to comedians about how to market yourself, how to really make your podcast more than just something that you put for your other friends to listen to, like get those 12 diehard people like your parents and then your like high school best friend and your roommates from college to listen to it, and to get it to be a more wide-reaching thing. I think that would be such a cool way to help people to sort of reach out to other parts of the entertainment industry.
Nice. Let's talk about some of the other headliners. Mike Kaplan.
Mike Kaplan is great. Or Esther, you had done a show with him before?
Yes, I did Laughing Devil in New York. And I was so excited because it was a contest show. Yeah, it was one of the contests. He was the closer. So I never know who's going to be the closer until I get there. And I saw that he was closing, and I was so excited because I watched him on Last Comic Standing, and I told him this, and I felt like such a nerd because I said, I called and voted for you. I loved him on Last Comic Standing. I've only called and voted on like reality television for Mike Kaplan and Ruben Studdard. I really got it. Oh, wow. Those are the
Quite
only
the combination.
two. So he is
You have a
such
passionate
good company.
love.
He was also on America's Got Talent, right?
Yes.
So I'll tell you a story about Mike Kaplan. I used to run a radio station in Providence, Rhode Island, back in 2003 to 2006. And we would do these shows called Cheap Dates where we'd bring in up-and-coming bands, and you would pay $10 and you would see a band before they got big. We had the Killers, we had Muse, like all in 300-seat rooms before they got big. And we tried to do this with comedy. We called it Cheap Laughs. And I bring a bunch of comedians in to kind of do it. And the event never took off, but there was one comedian that we booked, and this is, again, Providence, Rhode Island, that I remember, and it was a guy named Mike Kaplan, and this had to be like 2004. And I remember him because he was the one that stood out to me, and I was like, oh, that guy's funny. Because he had this line about, oh, just for fun, I Googled Yahoo, which in 2004 was really funny, right?
Yes,
like that was
topical.
He's really smart
Yes.
and very fast and quick, and I like that he doesn't, I don't think at least, he doesn't try to like stop, he doesn't slow down to make sure everybody's
right.
on board. If you didn't get it, then move on to the next one. There's math jokes. Anyone who has math jokes, I really enjoy.
So this was like 15 years ago, and then I turn on my TV one day, and there he is on America's Got Talent. I was like, I remember that dude. Like that dude was funny. So yeah, so I'm excited that he's going to be there.
Now, are you two performing at the festival?
I think I'm only doing the late night shows just because last year it was just too much to be sort of running everything and checking things in and then performing. I might do some of our fun specialty shows at night, but I'm not planning on performing on anything. But Esther is actually hosting a show.
I'm hosting the Motown Laugh Kings show, which is Jeff Horst, as we discussed before.
Yes.
Who I'm familiar with.
I see the heart.
Oh, we know how you got that gig.
Familiar. Jeff Horst, Ron Taylor, who lives in LA now, Darius Bennett, who also lives in LA now, and Josh Adams, who is he just kills every time he opens his mouth.
And I will say this, because Seth has gone on about what a fan of Josh Adams he is. In fact, the only comedian that he likes more than Josh Adams is Jeff Horst. In fact, we're pretty sure he has a legitimate man crush on Jeff.
It might be a tie.
No, Becky, I don't think it's close.
I don't think it's a tie.
So just so you're aware, Esther, he has kind of a man crush on your man.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Jeff has a lot of men that have man crushes.
I do have a question for you, because you talk about how the other two have already moved out. Why isn't Josh Adams in LA? When's that going to happen? Because that dude is funny.
I don't know. I mean... They've told him maybe when Jeff goes, they'll
go out and drag him along,
kicking and screaming. But
Ron, do they have a secret pact that if like one of them lands a TV deal, they'll all?
I will say that Ron is. I mean, he keeps saying like, "Come out," because I talked to these people, that people. When Jeff went out, just hanging out, he wrote a line for the Black Oscars that made it on television.
Wait, what?
He was the I can't remember what station the Black Oscars is on now, but Ron works with All Def Digital, and he works with a lot of people writing, and so Ron does a lot of writing, and he's always telling his friends, write something. Yeah, a lot like what Lauren was saying, like put something together. And at least he's there in the thick of it, where I don't know that there's a pact, but I know that if you're friends with somebody and somebody says, oh, we need somebody funny who can do X, Y, and Z, you're going to think of, I mean, they're so lucky but they're so funny. I don't think that any one of those four guys who are in this group together, Motown Laugh Kings, none of them are carrying each other by any means whatsoever, which is so lucky and weird that they got that.
And they've all gotten such cool success independently. I mean, Ron is now a paid regular at the Comedy Store in LA, which is a huge deal. I mean, it's not easy to get your name on the wall and to get that type of a position.
And he got in faster than I think anyone ever.
It didn't take him much time once he started performing there. And I mean, Josh has been on the Live at the Apollo show. He's had appearances on Laughs. Darius is super funny. He does all kinds of performances. I know he's done a lot of festivals, but he does all kinds of great performance across the country. So it's really cool to see each of them having success, and it's not even in the same sort of veins. It's like they're each doing something different, but they're still all really getting the attention that they're due for being as funny as they are.
So for the festival itself, the Comedy Fest, how does someone kind of attack that? Like, is each event ticketed separately, or is there some kind of roving pass?
We have a weekend pass, which is really limited. There's very limited availability on those because once the Kill Tony podcast tickets sold out, we had a certain number of tickets for each sort of point set, and so there's only maybe 7 weekend passes available still, but then there's individual day passes. So each day there are a few showcases, which are mostly the comedians that have come into town for these showcase spots, and then the headliner show each night. So every night, if you get a weekend pass, you're getting into at least 2 showcases. You're getting to see all of the headliners that day, and then you're also getting to see the midnight show, which is usually some sort of unique themed event that's a little different than just regular stand-up. So,
like, give me an example of that.
We have one that's called Cinema Roast Crunch, which is in the style of like Mystery Science Theater, where they're actually roasting the movie Anaconda.
Nice.
Yes. So we've got a bunch of comedians who've already signed up for that, and they take turns.
That's Brett Hayden's baby.
Yes. They take turns riffing on that. And then another one is called The Picture Show, which I think is such a fun premise because I've often thought on stage, like, this would be a really fun picture to talk about, just different concepts. So comedians get to give a certain number of pictures to fill up 5 minutes, and they just get to have a projector. They're talking about these things while the audience can see the images they're talking about.
That's cool.
So those are two of our fun midnight events that would also be part of the
pass,
the day passes, the weekend passes.
You also mentioned the workshops. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yes, the workshops I'm really excited about for this year because it was one of my goals the whole time that I really wanted to help this sort of education in the arts throughout the year. Between festivals, I'm doing some classes for stand-up for high school kids that are free. And I'm doing those at Planet Ant, where any high schoolers that are interested in stand-up comedy will have a bunch of comedians talk to them about writing, about sort of the process to get into it, and then if they want to get up and do some jokes. Esther actually was one of the other teachers when we did the last high school one, which was really fun.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, the kids were all really excited to do it, but they were very nervous. So I think that they're going to need
imagine.
more than one class for that one. But for this year's festival, we are going to have a class in voiceover that's being led by Jackie Floyd and Jeff Priscorn, who are both really accomplished actors in the area. And they're going to talk about sort of how to get into voiceover, how to get a reel, how to set up with a agent, all of the things that would really help you to extend your entertainment chops, because I think that's a thing I've heard of a lot of comedians I know that have done voiceover stuff, and it's such a great thing to do when you have those odd hours like comedians tend to. And our other workshop is going to be run by Mike Bobbitt and DJ Dangler, and it is about writing and sort of shopping your scripts and the whole process that goes into writing a full-length script. They've written a couple of film scripts as well as TV show pilots, and they've shopped them to all kinds of big networks in LA, and it takes a lot to get there, even though they're not in production. So it's something that's amazing that I think that a lot of comedians can learn a lot about just the process that gets to that point and how to maybe take their own ideas there.
What was the premise of the script? Do you know?
There have been some real weird ones. There was one about like these two guys that are like hiding from drug dealers in a furry convention.
Oh my God. I ran into one of those by accident once. That's a weird situation.
It was.
Yes.
That was the whole.
It's
I mean,
odd.
that was like they sent it to me when like both of them were living out of state, and they were like, "You want to read this and let me know what's going on?" I was like, "I don't know what's going on. This is 90 pages of I don't know what's happening."
So you passed.
I was like, it's really funny, but there's some stuff where I'm still not following it. I need to read it like another 3 times. Yeah, there have been some really cool things that they've done. So I think it's a really cool opportunity for comedians that are interested in getting into sort of that aspect of the entertainment industry, because you can go in front of the camera or behind the camera or the microphone, as it were. So.
I like the shirt here. You got the who did the artwork for the Motor City Comedy Festival?
That's super
That
cool.
T-shirt's nice.
Yeah, we have Artsy Fart is our artist in residence. Really great artist. They have a booth at Rust Belt Markets. Yeah.
They do a lot of great local things. I love their work. It's very cool.
They
Yes,
did.
they're everywhere. They're at DIY.
Everywhere, yes, yes.
I saw them at Dally.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah, they do all kinds of great stuff. They did our shirts for last year, which were based off of our poster. They did our poster for this year, and they did our festival logo. So they are very, very excited to be part of it. We really like their style. We think it's unique, fun, very Detroit. And so we were really excited to get them on board and working with us. Some of our leftover actually shirts from last year, there's maybe 5 or 6 left that they're selling at Rust Belt Market. So if you like the style enough, you can head down to Rust Belt in Ferndale and pick
Before
one
it
up.
becomes a collectible.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
Limited print.
What other headliners do we need to mention?
Ms. Pat.
Ms. Pat is wonderful. She was on Last Comic Standing, I think, within the last 2 or 3 years. I don't usually watch a lot of reality TV. Like, American Ninja Warrior's on after Jeopardy, and that's like the extent.
That's a funny one.
That's the extent of my reality TV. But I remember seeing her and thinking how funny she was, and I saw that she was from the Midwest. She's actually from Indianapolis, and I did more reading about her. And she's had this unbelievable life. She published her memoir this year. It did really well. She is super funny, though. Jeff actually worked with her in Grand Rapids a couple months ago.
Yeah, he opened up for her at Dr. Grin's. and the stories he has. I can't wait to meet her because she says what's on her mind and she doesn't care who's around to hear it. It's so great.
I like
the
that.
stories he had. Oh my goodness. And then her book, he listened to it because he listens to a lot of books on the road. And I still want to read it, even though I think he told me the entire book. But it's her story. A lot of her popularity came from going on WTF and going on podcasts and telling her stories. And her life, it's like amazing that she got out alive. It's just growing up with not a lot and doing what you have to do and not being, not the best schools. All these, her life just was just crazy. That
How old is she now? About
I think
I
she's
don't
in her
know.
40s.
wow, and to already have a good selling memoir of a full life.
She has in her memoir is called Rabbit, and in her memoir she mentions how like she had her first child I think when she was about 14.
Oh,
And when she was like a tween, and then she was raising some other family members as well. So she was taking care of all of these kids, and she was dealing drugs on the streets, and she was making a living for herself. And then it was a caseworker that suggested she get into comedy. And then she went from there to, she was on Last Comic Standing. She's done Comedy Central shows. I think she did This Is Not Happening. She had a couple of really good comedy shows on different podcasts. They love her on Joe Rogan Experience and WTF. She's been on a lot of different shows because she does like the combination storytelling and stand-up where it's really fun and it's really engaging, and it's just something where you don't know what she's going to say next, so you just are so interested in watching just because you're like, I have no idea where this is going to go.
One of my early bosses in radio once told me to be funny, you have to have some pain in your life to be able to draw from. Would the two of you agree with that to any stretch, or is that just an old cliche?
I don't think there's too many people in life who don't have pain. So it's
just being a
so
human
hard
is
to-
but I think that's true for any art or any performance.
Right.
I feel like, it's in her case, you either laugh or you cry about it. And, you choose. You can't always choose what happens to you, but you can choose your reaction to it. And I think a lot of artists is choosing a particular reaction that produces some kind of art.
That's so true. Like with comedy, I feel like in my life, at least, there's never been a time that was so sad that somebody in my family didn't make an inappropriate joke. I'm sure you have the exact same thing.
Our families would get
I
along
know
great.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, that's...
So I think
Too soon? There's no such thing as too soon in comedy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's I think the secret to people who do comedy for the longest is that they're people who, I mean, in some ways, they're just never satisfied enough to be happy with what they've got going on. They're just like, no, I need to go keep making these other people happy because I've got some stuff that I don't want to deal with going on in my own life.
Right. So we heard about your brush with Michael Shea. What about you? Do you have any celebrity encounters that...
Yeah, I have. One of my favorites was a couple years ago when Eliza Schlesinger was headlining a weekend at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. It was super fun. Her feature got connected with me by a friend, and she ended up staying with me. And so the Saturday of that weekend,
She stayed with you?
Eliza didn't, but the feature did.
act, right,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Eliza gets a hotel room.
Yeah.
Her dog gets a hotel room. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it was crazy because I was vaguely familiar with her. I didn't have a ton of. I hadn't watched all of her specials. I wasn't such an intense fan of hers, but she was really cool. I took her on a Detroit tour, which is one of the things that I really want to do for these out of town comedians too, is show them like I grew up in the city of Hamtramck and Detroit, and I've had so many great experiences just culturally in the city and how it's really become such a cool place and all of these things that have been around forever that have really helped form the city. And I took her to Polish Village Cafe in Hamtramck, which is my spot.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have some family friends that own the Polish Art Center in Hamtramck. So we went in there, we dressed her dog up in some toddler clothes. And it was just so weird because I'd never experienced somebody who had that level of social media fame before. So she was like taking a picture of her dog, and then we had to wait until we were driving somewhere else before she'd post it. And then people were like, oh, I know exactly where you are. I'm going to go there. Making fun of her for she's taking a picture in the middle of street in Hamtramck with some joke about how she thinks she's hard because she's in Detroit now, and people were like, I know exactly where you are. That's Hamtramck, just like policing her jokes on Instagram.
Gosh.
It was just so bizarre, but it was really cool. I mean, she was super friendly. the family friends who own Polish Art Center were really cool when we were in there, and she invited them. She gave one of the couples their passes to go see her show that night for free. She gave me a guest spot on the show, and that was such a cool night too, because not so dissimilar from Esther's experience with Michael Shea. Angela Johnson, who's an amazing comedian, was one of my inspirations getting into comedy, was actually at the Royal Oak Music Theater that night, and she came down to hang out in Eliza's room during the show at Mark Ridley's Comedy Cast, and I was like, this is like such a dynamic comedy power situation. Like I was so overwhelmed with like, this is so cool. You guys are you've worked so hard in the industry, like whether or not you like their comedy, like it has taken so much to be in the industry for 12 years and to be able to, I mean, Eliza sold out 5 shows at the Castle over that weekend, and Angela had sold out the shows at the Royal Oak Music Theater. So it was such a cool thing to see these great female comedians supporting each other and doing what they love and doing it like the best way possible.
All right, you guys want to play a game?
Sure.
Yes.
All right, here we go. So we're going to ask you for some rapid-fire recommendations. Just tell me the first thing that comes into your mind. What is your favorite Detroit spot to get a cocktail?
I like the Belt right now. I'm all about the Belt.
Oh, yeah. I went there a couple weekends ago. The Skip and Deluxe Flux.
So-
Yes, it was really fun. It's
Super fun.
Alley.
Yeah, the
next
alley
to the
Z Garage.
Z Garage, yes, the parking structure with the huge, cool mural, and there's so many different. There's just bars. I don't even know who owns what bar. There was a bar and an alley.
One person owns them all. So.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That
the
answers
team.
my question.
They're all owned by the same team. Yeah.
I haven't even gone into all of the bars there yet, but I've hung out there a couple times. There was an Adidas party that was super fun, and it'll get cold soon, and it won't be a thing. But I really like the Belt right now.
I really like Pop Off World. It is an arcade and bar that
Above
has
Checker Bar. There.
Yeah, it has great pizza. I had my birthday party there this year, so
You had your birthday party in an arcade?
This year.
That's awesome.
Yes. They have amazing pizza there too. So it's like, if you're going to get a cocktail there, they have this one pizza that's like 5 different kinds of garlic. And I found out that it's half price on Monday. So I would be lying if I told you I haven't gone there by myself on a Monday to get a half price pizza and ate it alone in an arcade.
Dang, I'm
during
so
the day on a Monday.
No shame in
You're
that.
a kid at
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong
And
with
I
that.
applaud that.
Me too. So Mondays. Okay, we record on Mondays, but you said during the day. As
Oh,
well.
yeah, it's all
Okay.
day. Half price pizzas. It's
We're
all
gonna
about it.
Pre-game the podcast.
Nice. All right, what is your favorite song by a Detroit artist?
It is Love Interruption, Jack White.
Nice.
Nice.
That's probably my favorite song.
By anybody?
Well, there's so many good White Stripes songs, though, that I can't deal, but I really love,
You're a big fan?
Love
You've seen 'em?
Interruption. Oh, yeah.
Best show that you've seen him in?
Best show was Masonic Temple. Oh, man, I can't remember the year. It was supporting Elephant, I
Okay.
want to say. And I was 4th row by myself, center, just
Nice.
happy.
Rocking out.
Oh, yeah. And I saw Jack White at the Masonic Temple, and my lovely good friend Rio Scafone got me backstage.
We had
to
her on the
meet
podcast
him.
a while back.
Oh, she did.
Yes, she always told me that she had a mutual. They have a mutual friend, and I used to just. He would send pictures of things and be like, he said he was at Third Man in Nashville. I'm like, oh, sure he is. And then he sent a picture, and I was like, oh, that is the elephant head that Jack White bought off of a Storage Wars show that he was on. So I saw when he bought that on television. I can't say he's not there. It was very okay, he's there. And then when he came to town, Rio organized this for me, and it was funny too because she wanted it to be a secret, so she told my friends and didn't tell me, and she told Jeff, and then it somehow didn't work where I was supposed to meet her ahead of time, and I just freaked out and was like, Jeff, if I'm ever going to meet Jack White again, you've got to just tell me. I can't just go
in
blind and no, we didn't get to meet up somehow, but it all worked out in the end.
Nice.
How do you follow that, Lauren?
Yeah.
That's My favorite artist from Detroit who has a song that is perfect to me is my dad's band. My dad's in a bunch of Detroit bands, and he has been for 38 years.
Wow.
In one of them. He's been in this one band, the Polish Muslims, since 1980.
Sure. Yeah.
And then before that, he was in this band called The Reruns, and he was in a band called The Mutants. And the Motor City Mutants have the song So American, and I think it is just the perfect, weird pop punk song, and it's so great, and it's weird enough that it's good enough that one time I was at a roller derby game and there was a band playing at halftime that did a cover of my dad's band song, and I just stopped what I was doing. I was like, no one else can relate to this. I don't know who to share this with. This is so confusing. I don't like this. The song started playing and I just stopped walking and I was like, wait, what? I'm not in the right place to be hearing this. This doesn't go with the surroundings. What is happening right now? And I just took a video and sent it to all the people in the band on Facebook. I was like, you're old, but people still care.
Yeah.
All right, last question. I got to ask this. Favorite Faygo flavor?
Oh, man. I got to go orange every time. I mean, I like Red Pop. I like Rock and Rye, which, by the way, it was free Rock and Rye backstage at the Jack White concert. It was all just Rock and Rye because he sings about it. It's in a lyric in a song.
That's true.
But yeah, orange. Oh man, Planet Ant had Faygo for a while when we did class, and I got hooked on. I just couldn't handle. I've now every time I would improvise, I'd be like, I need Faygo. This is what
we should mention that, by the way. You're very involved with Planet Ant, right, and everything that goes on there.
I take classes at Planet Ant, and I have been for goodness, I don't even know how long now. But I went through Go Comedy as well. But I've been doing a lot of
the improv
as much
comedy
as
stuff.
I can there. Yeah, they have open improv on Monday nights and bar prov. Bar prov is really fun. You just go there with a group, or you just improvise with whoever's there and just form a group. And with stand-up, a lot of people do stand-up at bars, but improv in a bar environment is so funny because it's people aren't ready for stand-up, but they're really not ready for improv in a bar. I mean, that at least is the bar that's connected to Planet Ant, but the vibe of people just drinking and woo, and you're up there.
Right.
It's so fun, though. I mean, well, they're more supportive than a regular bar,
right?
But it's still a bar show. It's a lot of fun.
Lauren, favorite Faygo flavor?
I would say just I'm boring. I like Faygo Cola. I can't get down a whole cotton candy. One of the kids I work with was telling me that was the best flavor. I have a friend who just moved here from New York, and she's like, I need to try every Faygo flavor. I'm like, there's some you actually don't.
Right.
Actually,
That's so new Detroit. Oh, let me try every favorite Faygo.
Yeah.
No.
The cotton candy one was really being pushed by one of our younger coworkers, and I was like, you can try some, but you shouldn't drink a whole bottle of that. There's nothing that is going to be happy the next day if you drink an entire bottle of cotton candy flavored Faygo.
Well,
Insulin pump with it.
Yeah. Before you get out of here, let's also plug your other activity because you've been on the podcast before in a different capacity. You're a part of roller derby.
Yes, I play with the Detroit Roller Derby League. Taking a little time off because of the comedy festival, but our season starts up in November. We play at the Detroit Masonic Temple, DetroitRollerDerby.com. We have both a men's league now and a juniors league, which is super exciting, and they're all playing at the Masonic Temple. We'll do double headers with some of the different teams, and actually our A-level travel team just came back from their playoffs in A Coruña, Spain last weekend. Yeah, they
we
got to play a
couple weeks ago. And
yeah,
the
it was
fundraisers.
super cool.
Oh, good. I wondered how it turned out.
Yeah, they lost the first game and then won their next one. And I mean, it's so cool to be able to play in these international venues because last year they were in Malmo, Sweden. Before that, I think they did 1 year in London. They did another year in a different. They've gone to Europe, I think, 4 of the last 5 years, where they've gotten to do tournaments or other. Just being asked to come play by a team there because Detroit's been pretty consistently highly ranked, and they've really proved that they deserve their ranking by playing well in
you
these
realize
cool places.
the roller derby teams may now be the best team in Detroit.
We could get
it's not
behind that.
impossible.
We're recording this on Monday night, and the Lions are getting murdered. So
that's
Wait, and this is the best part because they weren't here when we did the interview. I don't think. Tell them your derby name.
my roller derby name is Wham Tramick.
I love that.
Perfect.
I actually came
hometown.
up with that working at Planet Ant when I was, right after I left college, I was an intern at Planet Ant and came up with that with some of the writing staff there when I was really trying to nail out the perfect Derby name.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Well, Lauren Uchalik and Esther Nevarez, board members of the Motor City Comedy Festival. It's coming back for a second year. Good luck with this event. I know how hard it is to put events like this together. I know there's a lot of work that goes into it. And if you're a comedy fan or even just thinking about discovering what kind of comedy, there really is a lot of great stand-up comedy happening in the city of Detroit. So go and check it out. People can find all the details at motorcitycomedyfest.com, and it happens September 20th through the 23rd. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, ladies. It was fun.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.